Inside the Law is presented to educate listeners in Monmouth and Ocean counties about legal issues. The opinions expressed by the host, guests, and phone callers are strictly their own and do not necessarily reflect those of Town Square Media and are not intended to be a substitute for personal legal advice from your own attorney.
Your questions and comments are welcome at 732-505-1160. Inside the Law, talk radio for the Jersey Shore.
Good morning, Monmouth and Ocean counties, and good morning to the rest of the world listening out there on the internet. This is attorney Jason Wyatt from the law firm Novy and Associates. You know Novy and Associates. We're the boutique law firm that specializes in elder law, which includes asset protection, Medicaid planning, and guardianship. We also specialize in trust and estate planning, as well as trust and estate administration and trust and estate litigation. And you're listening live today to Inside the Law on 1160 WOBM AM in Ocean County and on 1310 AM in Monmouth County, and of course all over the world on WOBMAM.com. Today's show is a live show, so we're going to take you inside the law to learn about a issue or topic like we do every week that relates to our practice of the law. If you have any questions today during the show, feel free to give us a call at 732-505-1160. Or you can also shoot us an email offline if you have questions that you don't want to ask on the air, and that's at info@novylaw.com. Today our topic is physical therapy, which is not directly related to the law but has a huge overlap with our practice of elder law. And we're here to answer any questions that you might have about anything related to physical therapy, and especially to physical therapy as it relates to seniors. Our guest today is Jim Flaherty. Good morning, Jim.
Morning, Jason.
Jim is the clinical director of Atlantic Physical Therapy's Little Egg Harbor office. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And Atlantic Physical Therapy is a, I don't want to call it, chain's the wrong word. What would you guys call yourselves? A group?
Yeah, we're a huge private practice in Monmouth and Ocean County. Yes.
I'm just going to list the locations here so everybody gets a feel for, the Atlantic Physical Therapy being really a market leader in our area. Freehold, Shrewsbury, Howell, Lakewood, Manchester, Toms River on Route 9, Toms River on Mule Road, Toms River on Hooper Ave, Lacey, the aforementioned Little Egg Harbor, and Manahawkin. So that's what? How many offices total?
Sounds like 11.
11, okay.
That should be 11.
That sounds right. So 11 local offices certainly covers our local listenership area. And we're going to talk today with Jim about physical therapy, about some of the details. I get questions in my office about a lot of different medical questions and payment and Medicare. So we're going to talk about physical therapy and Medicare.
Okay.
We're going to talk maybe a little bit about senior-specific sorts of things like joint replacements and rehabbing joint replacements, that kind of stuff.
Sure.
We're going to talk maybe a little bit about falls, obviously a common thing for seniors.
Yeah,
and then
big problem.
Yeah, and then we're going to talk about some non-senior things as well as any questions that anybody has that they call in with. So, again, just a reminder, it is a live show, 732-505-1160. I should add that we have Jim's 14-year-old son Ryan with us, although we're not going to make Ryan answer any hard questions. You want to say good morning, Ryan?
Good morning.
Ask him some algebra questions.
There you go. Better him.
Please don't.
Better him than me on that front. But again, if you have any questions while we're on the air, the number is 732-505-1160.
Jason, do you screen callers here?
Our great sound engineer Paul does the screening for us.
If he happens to get one from my father, could we keep him off the air, please?
Did you hear that, Paul? No calls from Ryan's grandfather. Okay. So, Jim, just start by giving me a little bit of a background for you personally. How long have you been practicing as a therapist?
If I answer that question, it kind of tells my age.
Well, no, we know you started when you were 8 years old. So.
Right, exactly. I've been practicing as a therapist for 24 years now, 25 years. It's been a while, a long time. I graduated from the University of Scranton, in Pennsylvania.
Sure.
And I earned my physical therapy degree there, and started immediately working in the field of like orthopedics and sports medicine.
Okay.
I've been doing that ever since.
And did you start in New Jersey or was
it?
Yeah.
Okay. First job was at a busy clinic in East Brunswick, and then worked my way down south.
Gotcha. All right. And so almost 25 years of experience. So anybody listening out there, you've got a You got a head honcho type physical therapist on the line here, clinical director. So, if you want some free answers.
I'm the old man in the group.
There you go. If you want some free answers, give us a ring. Okay. And how long have you been with Atlantic Physical Therapy?
Since 2004.
2004.
Yeah, with them for a while, yeah.
So over 10 years.
Yes.
And when did the company, when it was started?
Yeah, it started in 2001.
Okay.
Mike and Dave Manzo started the company, and we started with a small practice in Freehold, New Jersey. And it's kind of grown tremendously since then.
So mom and pop startup physical therapy.
2 brothers with a huge vision.
Okay.
Yes.
And now almost 15 years into it and 11 locations. That's the kind of stories we love to hear here in Ocean County, successful business operations like that. And you worked your way up to being clinical director, or you came in that role? Or
they saw the talent immediately.
Obviously.
No, I learned a lot when I came on with these guys about their vision for therapy and how they saw a successful practice running, and worked hard, and great group of guys, and they wanted to grow the company. They wanted to expand in Monmouth and Ocean County. They're the guys that started the practice are local guys.
Right.
They grew up in this area, went to school in this area, and this was the area they wanted to see the company grow in. And an opportunity came for another office to open, and I fit right in there. It was great.
And so you've basically grown with the company.
Absolutely.
How many employees you guys have now? Give or take.
Got to be 80.
80 employees.
Yeah,
wow. In less than 15 years. That's incredible. Okay, so let's start at the real beginning here. Keeping in mind our audience may have never know anything about physical therapy. What is a physical therapist? How does it? What do you guys do day to day?
Okay, well, we'll give you the textbook definition.
Start there. Yeah.
So we'll go that. I got this one online. I Googled it.
Okay.
So a physical therapist is a highly trained, licensed healthcare provider. We're going to be there to help patients decrease pain, improve and restore mobility, and really try to maximize function.
Okay,
that's kind of the textbook definition. I like to say that a therapist is a movement specialist.
Okay,
if you're suffering from an injury, you're having trouble doing all the normal things you want to do, you want to move better. A physical therapist is who you want to see. We're educators. We're always teaching. It's a big part of what we do, trying to teach people what's going on and why they're suffering from a problem.
Why they're hurting.
Yeah, absolutely.
And prevention, too.
And then prevention's got to be a huge part of it. It's got to be a huge part of it. So once they are doing better, we're always trying to teach them how to keep it from coming back.
Gotcha. Obviously important if you're in pain. You don't want to be in pain again once you get rid of the pain.
Absolutely. And sometimes the pain can be chronic, and we want to help them manage it, too. So
okay. Paul's telling us we have our first call of the day.
Yes, you do. It's Wendy from Manchester.
Good morning, Wendy. How are you?
Good morning. This is a perfect topic for me this morning. I appreciate you taking my call. I have a relative who suffers from Meniere's disease. It's a condition in the ears. And he suffers from balance and falling, and sometimes he actually crawls on the floor because he can't. The room is spinning. So my question is, can physical therapy help this condition? Can it help people that maybe have a tendency to be off balance or tend to stagger or maybe fall a little bit?
Wendy, right?
Wendy, yeah. Wendy. I'll let Jim answer that.
Morning,
one.
Wendy.
Yes, good morning.
Yeah, absolutely. Falling in the senior community is a big problem. And there are different reasons why it occurs. It sounds like you said this was your friend, Wendy?
No, it's a family relative.
A family relative. Mm-hmm. It's important to find out or try to find out the reasons for the falling. Is it a weakness issue? Is it a physical issue, or is it an inner ear or possibly a neurologic issue? Mm-hmm. If they're suffering from an inner ear problem, yes, the easy answer to your question is therapy can be helpful. There's a common problem out there called BPPV, benign positional proximal vertigo. And sometimes that's a problem that occurs in the inner ear, and a physical therapist is trained to kind of evaluate that condition and treat it. And then once it's important to figure out, is it dizziness or lightheadedness? So there's a difference between maybe the room spinning, having that type of a feeling where the room is spinning, or a person that just is suffering from feeling a little lightheaded. That room spinning episode is often caused by an inner ear problem. And there are some techniques we can do to alleviate that symptom. And then it's important, once the symptom is alleviated, to try to train your vestibular system, because balance, not unlike anything else, can be trained. You can get balance better. You can't get balance better sitting in a chair. You actually have to kind of get up and kind of get into some provocative positions that cause your balance issues, and then try to train the body to handle those positions again. I like to use the example sometimes of a figure skater, right? So a figure skater can spin around 1,000,000 times and boom, stop at a dime. And if I
always wondered how they did that.
Right. And if I did that, or you did that, or even my son did that, you'd feel dizzy and you'd start kind of leaning over to the side. Well, why is she able to do that, or he? Why is that figure skater able to do that? It's because they've been training their system their whole lives to handle that.
Okay.
So we can try to take that same approach to getting vestibular problems better, where we actually want to slowly start training into some of those positions that bring on the symptoms, so that your body can relearn how to handle them. If we just continue to avoid them and say, no, I'm not going to do that, no, I'm not going to do that, it won't ever get better. So we actually have to kind of train it.
But there are ways that could be helpful other than just...
absolutely.
Yeah, so the short answer, Wendy, is yes, absolutely. Physical therapy sounds like
a little long-winded, but...
No, that's the kind of answer
in the end,
for.
Yes, we can help. And it's always important to try to really get to the root cause first.
Okay. Do you need a script from a doctor to start physical therapy, or could you just come in and say, this might be an issue?
That's a great question. This has been one of the things message that we've been trying to get out to the public for a while. The answer is you do not need a prescription in order to see a therapist. New Jersey has something called direct access. We've had it for a while. We're trying to get the word out about it a little bit more. But in New Jersey, you do not need a prescription. You can call a physical therapist, schedule an evaluation. Over 90% of insurance carriers are going to cover the therapy without a doctor's prescription. So it's a great thing. You don't need a prescription, no.
It is, because I had no idea. I thought you always did need a prescription.
Yeah, that's kind of been the conception for a while. And like I said, we are trying to get the word out a little bit more. There's some good information on our website about that as well. And then you can always call any of our offices and talk to one of our staff members about it as well, and we can explain it a bit further. But no, you can just call, set up an evaluation, and get your therapy started.
Oh, great. Thank you. It's been very helpful. I'll pass this on to my family member, and hopefully they can maybe call and get some help.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, Wendy.
Good luck, Wendy.
Okay, thank you. Have a good morning.
Thanks for the call, Wendy. You too.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So just for Wendy off the air, I think she said she was from Manchester. The number for Atlantic Physical Therapy in Manchester is 732-408-1800. And the website that Jim mentioned is www.atlanticptcenter.com. And the PT, of course, stands for, what does it stand for, Ryan?
Pain and torture? No.
It just stands for physical therapy, I'm pretty sure.
You got it. You're right. So, Wendy, if you want to make an appointment for your relative, it sounds like something that certainly some physical therapy could help. So that was an interesting call. The question I had before we had our call, Jim, was, so training-wise, what do most physical therapists go through? Is it just undergrad? Is there anything, is it a major?
The degree has changed a lot.
Okay.
So now it's basically almost 7 years of education as an undergrad and then a graduate portion.
Gotcha.
And now all physical therapists are graduating with a degree that's called a DPT, which makes them a doctor of physical therapy.
Okay.
And it's a lot of schooling, a lot of classes, and towards the end of the schooling, all the students go through internships.
Okay.
So I know when I was in school, I had to take 4 different internships at different clinical settings, a hospital setting, a rehab setting, an outpatient setting. So you really kind of get the lay of the land, learning from other experienced therapists. Then after you graduate and you get your degree, you have to sit through a state licensing exam,
a
board exam, and you have to pass that. So all therapists are licensed in the state that they're practicing in.
Okay.
And then now our Practice Act requires that we also take. So we're always learning new things, and
Sure.
we're required now to take continuing education courses. We always kind of did. All therapists are really pretty dedicated, but now it's actually a requirement that we have to complete at least 30 hours of continuing education every 2 years when we renew our license.
Okay.
So we're always learning new stuff.
Similar to an attorney. New medical science, just like new laws.
Yeah,
come
things
out.
are always changing. Yeah.
Yep. All right. So when you say a doctor of physical therapy, does that mean you can write prescriptions, or what is that?
No, we don't. Okay. We don't write any medical prescriptions. We sometimes will deal with medications. There are certain modalities that we'll use in the clinic where we're using a medication that a doctor has prescribed for the patient, specifically for physical therapy. But we don't write prescriptions for medicine. No.
Okay, but you work fairly hand in hand with medical doctors.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a big part of what we do. It's a team. It always has been a team approach. So. At least in our practice, we're constantly keeping in contact with the patient's doctors,
right.
Sending them reports, updating them on any real important changes or problems, God forbid, that occur. So we're always in the loop with the doctors, yeah.
So Wendy mentioned the idea that she might want to send a relative directly to you guys and whether or not she needed a prescription from a doctor, and the answer was no. And obviously you work with doctors. So if you had to guess, what percentage of your patients come with a prescription from a doctor versus direct access?
Honestly, we still see more of our patients from direct referrals from doctors.
Okay.
We have a great working relationship with a lot of the area doctors. They know us. They know the kind of care their patients are going to get when they come to us. So honestly, still a higher percentage of our patients are from direct referral from the different physicians. But the percentage of our direct access patients is increasing.
Okay.
It is increasing.
Which is probably a goal of yours long term. So that
autonomy and and having that, that getting people to know that they can come see us. Now, so the first question sometimes people will say is, well, what if I need an X-ray? What if I need an MRI? So it's important to know that a therapist is an expert at evaluating musculoskeletal disorders.
Right.
So if during the evaluation process we feel this is something we should get an X-ray of, we should get an MRI of, we should have a doctor take a look at it before we actually start anything. We're going to be the first ones to refer them right back to their physician.
The big two-way street.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And we can facilitate them sometimes getting in faster too. We can call the doctor and say, hey, this person needs to be seen.
Okay. So somebody, whether they come to you from a doctor or they come to you on their own through direct access, what should they expect walking into one of the 11 Atlantic Physical Therapy centers? Is it scary? Is it
Well, they shouldn't be scared. What should they expect? They should expect to get better.
Okay.
That's what they really should expect. They should expect to reach goals, and they should expect that they're going to work hard. When they come in, they're going to get individualized care. They're going to get hands-on care. Our therapists are smart, skilled, and really passionate about what we do, and we really feel that carries over into our treatment approach. The therapists at Atlantic Physical Therapy Center, we're very active approach oriented.
Gotcha.
That means our treatment approach is based on getting people up and getting them moving. Therapeutic exercise is a huge part of most of our patients' programs. We are going to use some passive modalities to help. They can be helpful at controlling pain, reducing inflammation, soothing areas, making people feel better. So we do use them, but they are rarely the primary thing that we do for our clients.
What does that mean, passive modalities? Is that
the hot pack?
Okay.
Cold pack, receiving electrical stimulation or an ultrasound treatment. Those are things that we do. We have them in our arsenal of care.
But it's only part of it.
But it's and with Atlantic Physical Therapy, it's usually a smaller part.
Okay.
A much bigger part is moving, learning how to move, learning how to protect your body,
strengthening,
flexibility, and then education and carrying over to a home program.
Gotcha. Just a reminder for everybody out there, you're listening to 1160 WOBM at 1310 AM in Monmouth County. This is Inside the Law with attorney Jason Wyatt from the law firm Novy and Associates. Today is a live show, so if you have any questions for us, like Wendy, give us a call at 732-505-1160. I also want to mention that a couple of days after today, the entire show will be posted on our website at www.novylaw.com. That's NOVY law.com. So if you wanted to re-listen to a portion, if we speak quickly through something you're interested in, feel free to check out the basically all of our shows are reposted on the website, so you can review any show that you want, but especially today's. Or if you didn't have a pen in your hand or you're driving and you want to, jot down Jim's name or the phone number or the website address so you can get in touch with your local Atlantic Physical Therapy Center, I encourage you to do so. So Jim, one of my favorite things to ask anybody involved in the medical profession, it's always war stories. So I'm going to start by asking you, what are like the most common injuries that you guys treat? And you can do more broadly first, and then I'm going to re-ask the question for seniors.
It might be easier to name something we don't treat.
Okay.
We treat, I am sometimes amazed at the spectrum of different injuries and conditions that we treat. But some of the more common one, pretty much anything orthopedic, low back pain tends to be a real popular one. Neck problems, any joint-related problems, shoulder, knee, ankle problems. We see post-surgical patients, whether it's an athletic injury or a joint replacement, or back surgery or neck surgery. We see a lot of that. Like talking to Wendy before, we do see a lot of people with balance problems, falling episodes, dizziness. That's a big part of what we treat as well. We treat stroke victims, recovering from a stroke. We help people with Parkinson's, kind of maintain some flexibility and movement and manage that condition. It's people of all ages, shapes and sizes, everything.
How about people where they don't have any acute pain? It's more of a recovering from a chronic illness or a long-term hospital stay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Sometimes people are amazed how learning to move or strengthening. The common notion is something hurts, and I should sit and rest.
Right.
And very often that's not the best medicine. Movement is often the best medicine.
Gotcha. I asked that because a lot of our clientele at Novy and Associates, we don't just have older folks as clients, seniors as clients, but we do have a lot of seniors as clients. And a couple of times I've had clients with long-term hospital stays. One was for pneumonia and recovered from the pneumonia, feeling much better. Yeah. But a 94-year-old lady being in bed for the better part of 3 weeks at the hospital and wanted to continue to live independently. And her doctor suggested physical therapy, and the family thought, that's a little bit strange. It's not like her back hurts. It's not like her knee hurts.
Right.
And they were a little skeptical at first, and then in the long run, they reported back that it was the most amazing thing. Not only did mom/grandma recover from the pneumonia, but she was stronger and more independent than she was before she got sick. And she restored her past the point of, just getting her back to where she was.
Right.
So I always thought that was very interesting. You don't typically think, you're a sports fan or you played sports in high school or college and physical therapy helps you after an injury, but you don't think about it after a non-injury event like that or post-surgery. Like
she probably loved going, too. She probably loved,
in the long run, because what I see in our office is that being able to recover and get stronger is a doorway to autonomy and not having to rely on your family or a healthcare aid or something like that. So if your goal is to remain as independent as you want to be, then being strong and being not as much a fall risk, not as needing less help is a way to retain that autonomy.
Absolutely. When she was convalescing for that long, your body becomes pretty deconditioned pretty quickly. There was a formula out there. I might be a little bit mistaken, but I think for like every day you're in bed convalescing, your body's going to need 3 days to recover.
Okay.
Even think about any time you were sick and you just were laid up
Sure.
one day. It's not like you feel like $1 million the next day.
Right.
Sometimes it takes a couple of days to get back to your feeling normal.
Your
again.
normal self. Yeah.
So somebody who's laid up for 3 weeks in a hospital, they're going to be a little weak, a little deconditioned, even mentally probably not feeling great about things. And therapy can be helpful in a lot of ways, and motivating is a good way too.
Sure. And I know that for a couple of senior clients I've had, not only do they love feeling stronger, but they find, especially once they get into the groove of it, they find the therapy to be I don't know if fun is the right word, but invigorating, and they look forward to it.
Absolutely. There's if you come to an outpatient setting like one of ours too, there's a big social aspect.
Sure.
You're going to be in there with other people who are hurting and sometimes going through similar things. So there's a huge social aspect to that as well. Hey, we rock. What can I tell you?
There you go.
So it's a great place.
And maybe you've seen this. I don't know. I've seen it with a couple of clients that the older generation. People in their 70s and 80s and 90s and even over 100 today, they didn't grow up in a world where there was a retro fitness or a Planet Fitness. Gyms were not a thing,
sure,
other than maybe for a boxer or a weightlifter. And I've seen a couple of clients where a successful physical therapy stint led them to say, well, I know I can't just go to physical therapy, but I think I want a gym membership so I can keep up doing some of this exercises and keep my strength up now that I've achieved it through the therapy process. So to me, I love physical therapy because, A, we believe big time in autonomy of seniors in our office, which is a big reason why we focus on the legal side of that, having documents and a plan in place to make sure that you stay in charge as long as possible, and that if for some reason you can't be in charge, the person who you want in charge is the one who stays in charge. And so the physical therapist is basically the physical side of that. You want seniors to stay in charge and take control of their situation. And so I've had a couple of clients, they said, I never would have thought of joining a gym at 84 years old, but after my physical therapy stint, I felt so good and so confident that I wanted to keep it up. And so
many of these senior adult communities, they have gyms.
Right.
They have these wonderful clubhouses with pools and hot tubs and a full gym with awesome equipment. So sometimes some of the people there, they don't know how to use it even or would be afraid to. So they come to therapy, they start seeing the benefit of some simple exercise and what it can do. And very often we can help them carry that over and to use some of the stuff they have available to them.
Absolutely. So let's talk about some of the senior injuries. One I know I see a lot of in my office is, clients will come and we see it. They say, I'm having a hip replacement is probably the one I see the most. But I guess it really could be any joint replacement. They come in, they want to redo documents or get some legal, power of attorney or living will or something like that in place before surgery. Very common, mental approach to surgery. But for your guys, you get them after the surgery. Mm-hmm. What is it like to rehab something like a hip? Is it painful? Is it a real long road? How does that work?
Well, after the hip replacement and what's happening with the hip replacement is a surgeon is actually removing the painful part of the hip. So the surgeon is surgically removing the severely osteoarthritic portion of the joint and replacing it with a prosthetic. Some metal components, ceramic components. There are different prosthetics out there. And then after the replacement, there's going to be a short hospital stay. It's changing all the time. Some doctors still want patients to go to inpatient rehab, where they'll spend some time actually at a hospital for 7 to 10 days, rehabbing in the hospital, and then they're discharged at home. Sometimes it's shorter.
Okay.
Some doctors are going to recommend a course of home therapy, where a physical therapist will actually come to the house, which is great. It helps you kind of learn how to move around your house a little bit.
Do you guys do that, Tim?
Atlantic Physical Therapy right now doesn't have any home physical therapy, but we can certainly get people in touch with that and help them get it set up if need be. But we don't actually have any therapists that come to the house right now.
Okay.
And that's a short stint of a couple weeks, sometimes less. And then in most of the time the doctor is going to send them for outpatient therapy.
Okay.
And outpatient therapy following a hip replacement or a knee replacement can often last several weeks. And the therapist is going to, teach hip replacements sometimes have some precautions, Jason, early on, things they can't do with the hip, certain positions they have to avoid. So we'll help educate them on that so they know that for sure. And then work them through a proper strengthening program, get them confident standing on that replaced joint again, and try to pretty much get them back to their previous lifestyle.
Is there a mental component to a lot of those recoveries in addition to the physical?
Confidence issue, yeah, sometimes. Okay. Just trusting it. Yep. Very often they're surprised of how quickly they are weight bearing.
Right.
You're after the surgery, you're putting weight on that joint right away. That day, a therapist is going to come into your room and get you up and get you standing, as long as you're medically cleared.
Okay.
And people are often, seriously, I'm going to stand on this thing? It's a brand new joint.
They're physically ready, but maybe not mentally
and there's some
ready.
Post-operative pain and some swelling and stuff that goes along with it, and the doctor will provide medication if needed to help control that.
Right.
But they're up and moving right away.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I guess that's really what we say counselor at law. There's a lot more that comes into that word counselor. It's kind of like physical therapist. Well, you're still a therapist. There's a mental aspect of it too. Yeah. Paul, it sounds like we have another call.
Yes, this is Kevin in Lacey.
Oh no.
Good morning, Kevin. How you doing?
No, I won't do any jokes, Jim. You guys kind of stole my thunder at the end of your statement there. I think the biggest threat facing you guys is an aging population of fat people. Being nice as you can about it. You have a group of people living longer than ever and continue to live longer than ever, and they're heavier. And so I think what you guys were just talking about, I think that what the majority of folks listening on the phone would be thinking about is they can't do it. And so, Jim, you talked about movement often being the best medicine, but you're going to have a population of people who are heavier, who are growing older, who have that fear of not thinking they can do it. And so, very seriously, I think you guys just started touching on it a little bit, but I'd be curious as to what you think about that.
Thanks for the call, Kevin. The
fear of movement, fear avoidance. It's a real thing,
or of getting hurt worse, or of not being able to accomplish what you're setting out to accomplish.
Well, so to Kevin's point, very often what people are saying is, "I'm hurting, so I'm in pain here. You want me to move? You want me to? I can't. I'm in too much pain." So that is a huge barrier that we have to get through, is trying to show people and educate them that, obviously if sitting around and doing nothing was going to get you better, it would have done it by now. So we have to now kind of take
good point.
We have to now take kind of the bull by the horns and change that process, right? So the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, right, and expecting different results. So we have to now do something different, and that's why therapy is so important, because, like Kevin was saying, if they're afraid or they don't know what to do, that you could hurt yourself even more. So coming to a therapist, getting evaluated properly so we know what things have to be worked on, and then slowly working through the process. Mm-hmm. Somebody who's in a tremendous amount of pain, it's not like they're coming into our offices and spinning cartwheels on the first day that they come in. We're going to use some of those pain modalities to help soothe areas, make people feel a little bit better. But those passive modalities aren't going to get anybody stronger. They're not going to get anybody more flexible. Right?
Although I will pitch in here and stick my nose in here and say electrical stimulation is an amazing pain decreasing modality. But anyway, keep going. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Right, no, it's okay. So we will use those modalities because they're helpful. And then what happens is if your program is being managed properly, we start slow and you start taking areas that are weak. So a bad back or a bad neck or a bad knee, it needs support, right? Mm-hmm. So people often will put a brace on it, right? I'm going to put a brace on this because I need support. Well, the body's equipped with our own braces that help our joints, and those are muscles. So if the therapist has appropriately identified the area that is weak, the area that is diminished, the area that's not working, and we start strengthening that area again, that pain is going to diminish. So in the case of a real chronic back problem, the more we get those core stabilizers activated, and there's really low-level ways we can start that, the more we start that process, people are going to be like, oh gosh, I feel a little bit better here. I noticed I got up out of the chair easier. I rolled off my bed and stood up, and I wasn't in tremendous pain. Something's happening here. And it's a process, and that's why therapy sometimes takes weeks, because if everybody could get stronger in a day, there'd be no weak people in the world, right? Sure. So it is a process of, staying consistent, staying compliant, knowing what's going on and being educated. And that's what we do. And then making sure we really provide people with home stuff, because you're coming to therapy 3 times a week, maybe twice a week, whatever the case may be. That's a boatload of time that a person could be trying to help themselves. So we've got to make sure that we're providing people with things they can do for themselves at home. So Absolutely. We're all working towards the same goal. So to Kevin's point, once again, that fear hopefully starts to subside when a person does a stretch or does an exercise and like, oh gosh, I feel a little bit better.
Sure.
And then the fear starts.
You got a little bit of a chicken or the egg there, because you're saying they'll have to do.
Are you still on here? I thought you hung up.
So that question of that first time. So right. I've done therapy with Jim, as he kind of alluded to at the beginning. The first couple of days, it hurts like heck, and so there has to be that promise of a better day in 3 days, in 5 days, and so
right.
that fear out of the gate is an emotional. I mean, not for somebody of my age, I don't think, but of an older person.
Yeah.
Listen, I can get up and have my coffee and watch football. I'm good. And speaking of that, just on a follow-up and giving your expertise, will Notre Dame win the next 2 games? If you could just comment on that, that'd be great.
Well, Jason's a Buckeye fan here, so he's got the Ohio State hat on. So
they're losing. They're losing today.
Oh, no way! We'll see you guys in the playoffs there.
All right, I'll see you guys.
Thanks for the call, Kevin. I'll give a little Buckeye. I'll give my college football soliloquy here at the end of the show. But so I think Kevin's point is good. The fear, you see it. There's an aspect of fear that we all face in everyday life in a lot of different ways, and to some degree, as you age, it gets worse because you lose the full team you have around you in terms of, or the full skill set you have around you to help you overcome fear in a lot of ways. If you're widowed, you no longer have the assistance and the support of a spouse. If you have moved to a retirement community, but your children still live in Long Island or Pennsylvania or in New York City, they may not be as local and able to be part of, you may not be able to be part of each other's lives the way you once were. So we see a component of fear in our office. People worry, well, if I go and talk to an estate planning attorney, does that mean I'm going to die? Am I admitting, some weakness in my old age? Sure. And the same thing with going and admitting my back isn't where it once was, or my knee doesn't work the way I want it to. It's almost like admitting that you're aging.
Yeah.
So there is a fear aspect to it. I'm sure that you guys see all the time.
Or how about telling somebody they might need to use an assistive device now? They have to use a cane or they have to use a walker.
Right.
There's a fear component to that. People
or denial.
Or even I don't want people seeing me using a walker. They're going to think I'm an old person. We see a lot of that, and that sometimes is a problem because people need that assistive device, to keep from falling or to help with their balance. So trying to convince people that it's safer for them to use this and it's going to be better for them in the long run, that can sometimes be challenging.
Absolutely. So we always think in our mantra in our office at Novy and Associates, and again, just a reminder, you are listening to Attorney Jason Wyatt hosting today's Inside the Law. If you want to get in touch during the week, www.novylaw.com is our website at the firm, and our phone number is 732-657-0600. But our mantra at Novy and Associates is oftentimes that education is a great way to get rid of fear. If you learn about the aspect that you don't understand or are scared of, a lot of times it can make it less scary. If you've ever gone and researched a company before you went on an interview there, it makes you less worried about the interview because you're educating yourself as to what the company does. So I understand, if I have the information correct in front of me, that you guys offer educational material like this, something informational packets and stuff like that. Is that right, Jim? So tell me a little bit about that, joint replacements and what.
One thing we just rolled out was actually a joint replacement packet where we can provide people with an entire folder that will give them information on what a replacement is, things that they might be able to do to prepare themselves before the surgery, whether it's getting things with their family in line and their home in line, because they might need some assistance after the surgery at home. So getting all that set up, getting your house set up. You might not be able to go up and down stairs, as easy as you want to for the first couple of weeks. So get real important things downstairs so you're not going up and down all the time.
Right.
Little simple things like that you might not have thought about. So and then do's and don'ts after surgery. We're going to provide some information about that, how you contact your therapist to start your therapy afterwards. Even some pictures of some good post-operative exercises that you can safely start doing. And then some information about us, and we offer free transportation too. So
that's a big one if you're not ambulatory.
It's a big one, yeah, especially if you don't have any family members nearby that can drive you, and you've got to get to your therapy. We have a transportation service that will come pick you up and get you into the therapy.
Okay. And if somebody were interested in a packet, if they knew that down the road somewhere they were going to need a hip replaced or a knee replaced, or there was a possibility.
Give us a call, yeah. We have a great website. The people who are handling our website are just doing an outstanding job. I'm amazed. You can go to the website, and there's all sorts of stuff on there about replacements. There's all sorts of informative videos on warm-ups or lifting mechanics, different diagnoses, some information about different things that we treat, information about our transportation, information about direct access. So the website has really, really become a strong tool.
And just a reminder for everybody out there, if you've grabbed a pen, that website address is AtlanticPTCenter.com. Again, AtlanticPTCenter.com. So use that information. Professionals like Novy and Associates, like Atlantic Physical Therapy, we do spend a lot of time trying to educate and help our clients, or people who aren't even our clients yet, or who may never become our clients, by providing information through the website. So it's a great starting point, way to get free information from professionals, really. And what about walking in, Jim? If somebody wanted to walk in, and I see you have a pretty nice looking packet in your hand there when I asked you about it, can they just walk in cold and ask about it? Okay.
Sure. They can walk in any of our offices, and we'll have them on hand to hand out. Absolutely.
And again, those office locations for Atlantic Physical Therapy, now 11 offices strong, are Freehold, Shrewsbury, Howell, Lakewood, Manchester, 3 in Toms River, Lacey, Little Egg Harbor, which is the office that Jim works out of, and Manahawkin. So if you're in Ocean or Monmouth County, there's pretty much an Atlantic Physical Therapy Center within a few minutes of your house, almost definitely. All right.
I'm waiting for the one to open up in Florida.
There you go.
South Carolina, Myrtle Beach.
So the next question, we've got about 10 plus minutes left. I want to cover 2 things. One is a big one, which is the Medicare component of it. Because, first of all, in our office, we deal more with Medicaid than Medicare. And keeping in mind out there for everybody that Medicaid is long-term care-based payments from the government, which are based on need, versus Medicare, which is closer to being health insurance, which is it's not need-based, it's age-based. And it is a way to help disabled and older Americans pay for the cost of medical and medically related care, which includes things like hospital visits, doctor visits, prescriptions, and, importantly, physical therapy. So, Jim, tell us a little bit about Medicare. What do our listenership need to know about physical therapy and Medicare? Does Medicare pay for anything?
Jason, I was hoping you'd explain it to me. Well, Medicare is something we're always discussing in our offices and at our meetings. So with regards to Medicare covering outpatient physical therapy, yes, they do. Medicare will cover 80% of your outpatient physical therapy. Very often, if a person has a secondary insurance, it'll pick up the remainder. What's important to know about Medicare is that there is a cap. So we get a lot of questions sometimes about this Medicare cap for outpatient physical therapy that's in place. So it is important to know that there is a cap. So there's an annual cap of $1,940. And that's annual. That's not per condition.
So That's an important distinction.
It's an important distinction, yes. But what else is important to know is that I like to say that there's a soft cap and then there's a hard cap. So the soft cap is $1,940. What I mean by soft is that there are some exceptions and there is some flexibility there.
Okay.
So if a person has a real serious condition or a condition that requires longer therapy that is needed beyond that $1,940 allowance, there are some modifiers we can apply to extend the therapy beyond that cap. So with certain diagnoses or certain people that require that skilled care for longer, they can get it. It's not like they get thrown out the door when they hit $1,940. So then there's a hard cap number or the threshold of outpatient physical therapy coverage per year, and that's $3,700, so almost double. After that, so a person reaches that real threshold, they've really needed therapy for longer, or they needed therapy 2 times in the year. They had a back problem earlier in the year, and then later on in the year they had surgery, and they needed additional therapy. So they've really eaten into that number. Once again, it doesn't necessarily mean that therapy needs to stop. Hopefully, goals have been reached at that point, and the person's doing a lot better, and they can be discharged. But if the skilled physical therapy is necessary, and if the physical therapist, the doctors, the patient, if all working as a team, if it can be documented and we use the term sometimes justified, it will be covered. After that $3,700 threshold, Medicare might start a manual medical review process where they'll review everything and make sure all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed, and the therapy is needed and justified, and then there really shouldn't be an issue. Medicare sometimes gets a bad rap, but in the end, they want their beneficiaries to get better. The therapist wants the patient to get better. The patient wants to get better. Everybody wants to get better. So we're all working towards the same goal. What Medicare is trying to do is prevent fraud. I mean, it is a real thing, and they're just trying to make sure that the system doesn't get abused.
So to sum it up, I think the way, if I'm understanding correctly, first of all, did
you understand any of that?
I think I got it. Medicare. The short answer is yes. Medicare will cover big components of physical therapy.
Yes, that's the truth. Yes.
There are certain caps to it, but the caps also have exceptions.
Yes.
So what I think the listenership needs to take away is, first of all, that you don't need a prescription to get physical therapy. And if you you go in to ask, will physical therapy help me? And the answer is yes, that Medicare will be available to help in a major way pay for it. And the worse off you are, the more likely, or the not worse off, that's probably the wrong way to put it. The more in-depth,
if it's required,
in-depth therapy that you need, the more extenuating, then the caps do have a review or increase process. So I think that's important. Maybe the biggest takeaway for our listenership out there. I know I'll, understanding the rules a little bit more, probably mention it to more clients that you don't need a prescription and Medicare will help cover it. Because I think that is, maybe probably the biggest confusion out there about physical therapy. So I want to ask more of a selfish personal question here. The testing for, you guys obviously do non-senior related physical therapy for athletes, and I'm a big skier. This is my favorite. I love the winter. It's my favorite time of year. I know you said you were waiting for the group to open a Florida office. Well, I'd like a Vermont office personally.
Okay, we'll get on that.
But when I was a ski instructor in college, one of the big things we were always learning, and we actually had a physical therapist come talk to us, was how to teach people to fall without
gracefully,
without tearing their ACL. Basically, very common thing in ski injuries. But if you do fall and have an ACL tear, and I've had a couple of friends, including a friend of mine who was actually using our Vermont condo to go on vacation with her family and fall and tear her ACL. So I felt really bad for her. But, you worry about going back too soon. So I gather from some of the information that there's a way to test for that in advance.
Yeah. It's a good question. It's a good point. We see a lot of athletes who had ACL surgeries, and there's protocols and there's rehab processes that everyone has to go through, and there's every doctor will be a little bit different on when they think a patient is able to return back to the field. Sometimes the doctor will say 6 months, sometimes 9 months, sometimes a year. Depends on a lot of different factors. But what we wanted to make sure was that it wasn't just a time passing criteria.
Right.
Before we say, yeah, you can go back and play soccer, or you can go back and play basketball. That's just not enough. And it's not enough just to say you've got good range of motion, you've got good strength, and 7 months have gone by. Go ahead, go play. It's just not enough, especially with an injury as traumatic as an ACL injury can be. There's got to be more to it. So we developed a system of tests, functional tests we call them, to really help answer that question of whether a person is able to get back on the field. It's not just time passing. It's not just simple things. It's can that knee, can that leg handle and withstand the rigors of an athletic sport? So what do you need to do in sports, right? You need to be able to jump. You need to be able to pivot. You need to be able to land. You need to be able to trust that knee. We talked a little bit before about confidence, and there's such a confidence issue when a person tears their ACL. Is this knee going to hold up? Am I going to be able to plant and cut and do what I need to do? So we've developed some tests to answer those questions that will actually run the patient through once they're ready. And if they don't pass these tests, and they're measurable, they're reproducible, they're researched, they're valid tests. If they don't pass them, we don't clear them. It's as simple as that. And
there are ways of testing it without a high risk to re-injury.
Right. Well, we will only do them at certain times when we know that they're ready for those tests. So these tests that we're talking about aren't something that's going to be done, 6 weeks after a person had ACL reconstruction.
Right.
They're usually not going to be done until that 6 month, 7th month, time frame, give or take. And they're safe, and if the person doesn't pass them and can't handle them, then that's all more justification that they can't really be on the field yet.
Gotcha.
The answer, in the end, the doctor wants to be sure, we want to be sure, and most important, the patient wants to be sure. So when the patient passes those tests, they're like, wow, look what I was able to do. They feel more confident with getting on the field as well.
So and nice to be able to go through a testing process like that,
yes,
where the test itself is not the first time you go up for a layup or ski a mogul trail.
And believe it or not, that happens.
Yeah,
sometimes people go to therapy and they're doing some stuff, and it's like, okay, well, it's 6 months. Go ahead and play basketball next week.
Right.
And wow, that's scary because they haven't really been tested to see whether they can do that yet.
Okay.
So we make sure that happens.
So in closing here, Jim, if someone has an injury or is about to go through a surgery or just thinks they might need physical therapy, the best way is either to walk in or look through the website and get in touch with you guys to see what services
website's got everything. All the numbers for the specific locations are on there. There's a main number that you can call that's really clear on the website that'll direct you to wherever you need to go. And yet, of course, you could always walk in and schedule as well. Yes.
Which is AtlanticPTCenter.com, just as a reminder.
Yes.
So I told Kevin I'd give a 2-second review of college football this weekend. So my prediction is Ohio State rolls 31-20. And, I mean, obviously Notre Dame's going to win I think they have a layup game in Fenway against BC.
A layup game.
But I think next week it's a coin toss for both teams, Stanford and Michigan. Those are going to be big games. So we'll see. Maybe we'll
Ryan, do you want to chime in on Notre Dame at all? Or? They're going to crush it.
Maybe. We hope so.
Can I give a quick shout-out to my daughters, Jason?
Absolutely. Go
Hi,
for
Shannon.
it.
Hi, Aaron. Hope you were listening.
So I want to thank everybody for listening this morning. You've been a great audience, Jim and Ryan. You guys have been great guests. Again, we love having everybody listen to us on Inside the Law. We look forward to our show 2 weeks from today. And in the meantime, you stay classy, New Jersey. Thanks for stopping by.